If you're over 60 and eat eggs every day, there's something I need to tell you, something no one warned you about. Eleanor only realized it after she fell and couldn't get back up. She used to eat only egg whites on an empty stomach, thinking she was protecting her heart. But what that habit did to her body, no one saw it coming. Have you ever stopped to think that something as ordinary and routine as eating eggs daily could be slowly harming your health without you even noticing? Sounds like an exaggeration, doesn't it? I used to think so too, until I came across real stories that completely changed the way I look at this seemingly harmless food. Maybe you, like many older adults I know, are making a few small mistakes, everyday mistakes that, over time, can quietly cause serious harm. A few months ago, while visiting a charming little retirement home in upstate New York, I had the good fortune to talk to a doctor who, even at 92, still sees patients every week. He's one of those professionals who makes you wonder, what's his secret to such energy and vitality? Naturally, many people asked him that, and his answer, surprise met, involved eggs, a food we all assume is healthy, with no major restrictions. Wrote, the problem isn't the egg itself, but how we, especially after turning 60, consume it. What I learned from this veteran doctor was simple yet eye-opening. Eggs can absolutely be a powerful ally for your health. But when prepared incorrectly or eaten at the wrong time, they can quietly cause subtle damage that builds up over time. During my work with older adults, I've seen countless cases of well-meaning people trying to eat right. They were careful, devoted, following nutritional advice they'd been given decades ago, without realizing that our bodies' needs change as we age. What worked at 30 or 40 may not work the same way at 70 or 80. That's exactly what happened to a woman named Eleanor, a 79-year-old from Maine. She was meticulous, especially concerned about her heart health, and avoided egg yolks, entirely eating only egg whites each morning, often on an empty stomach. She truly believed she was protecting her cardiovascular system. But over time, Eleanor began experiencing strange symptoms: unexplained muscle weakness, constant fatigue, and even trouble walking. It didn't take long to trace the root of the problem to her daily habit of eating egg whites alone. What many people don't know is that egg whites contain a substance called avidin, which interferes with the absorption of biotin, a crucial vitamin, not only for muscles, but also for nerve health, skin, and even memory. Eleanor was unknowingly worsening a biotin deficiency. Once she began eating whole eggs and balanced her breakfast with other nutrients, her symptoms gradually improved. But Eleanor wasn't the only one. Over the years, I've seen dozens of similar stories, older adults trying their best to stay healthy, yet unintentionally making small mistakes that over time take a serious toll. People like you, perhaps, who are doing everything they can to stay well, but just need to tweak a few habits to prevent bigger issues down the road. That's why today I want to share the 5 most common mistakes older adults make when eating eggs daily. These mistakes are simple and easy to fix, but if left unchecked, they can slowly chip away at your health. Most importantly, each one has a practical, straightforward solution that you can start applying as soon as tomorrow. My goal isn't to scare or worry you, but to help ensure that every egg you eat truly supports your energy, muscle strength, and brain health. But before we dive into the first specific mistake, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you're over 60 or simply care about staying healthy later in life, this space is made for you. Now let's take a look at the first mistake that might be silently harming your health every day without you even realizing it. The first mistake, and probably the most common among people trying to manage their cholesterol, is eating only egg whites, especially on an empty stomach. You've probably heard that egg yolks can raise cholesterol, right? Maybe out of fear, you've also stopped eating yolks in the morning, thinking it's the healthier choice. But what seems like a smart decision may actually cause subtle harm that builds up over the years. Remember Eleanor's story? Her issue came from this seemingly harmless habit. You see, egg whites contain avidin, a natural blocker of vitamin B7, also known as biotin. Biotin is an essential nutrient that supports your muscles, skin, and the proper functioning of your brain and nervous system. It plays a direct role in fighting fatigue and persistent muscle weakness. Even a mild biotin deficiency can lead to unpleasant symptoms like tingling, numbness in the hands and feet, and even contribute to anxiety and depression. Now imagine this happening gradually, day after day, every time you choose to eat only egg whites on an empty stomach, because your stomach is completely empty in the morning. The effects of gastric acid are even stronger, which amplifies the negative impact of avidin, and the consequences can go far beyond a little extra fatigue during the day. Over time, this silent deficiency of a vital vitamin can seriously impact your quality of life. Fortunately, the solution to avoiding this mistake is very simple. Eat the whole egg, both the white and the yolk, especially in combination with other foods like a slice of whole grain bread or a light salad before your main meal. And if you're still concerned about cholesterol, know that several recent scientific studies have shown that eating up to one whole egg per day poses no significant risk for most people over 60. In fact, a recent study published in the Journal of Nutrition concluded that healthy older adults can eat whole eggs daily without harming their heart, as long as it's part of a balanced and varied diet. However, if you're taking medications like statins, it's important to consult your doctor before making any major changes to your diet. Professional guidance is always key to ensuring your safety and peace of mind. Let us now talk about the second common and equally dangerous mistake: the habit of eating raw or undercooked eggs. Have you ever heard of someone drinking raw eggs in the morning? Maybe you've even done it yourself at some point. It's an old habit often passed down by those who believe raw eggs are more nutritious. But as we age, our immune systems naturally become more vulnerable and less able to fight off certain bacteria found in raw or undercooked eggs. This vulnerability became clear to me when I learned about Mark Thompson, an 82-year-old gentleman who had a decades-long habit of drinking raw eggs mixed with vodka each morning. To him, it was a harmless ritual, something he'd picked up in his youth. That is, until one day, Mark ended up in the emergency room with a severe salmonella infection that quickly turned into sepsis. His recovery was slow, required strong antibiotics, and left him with long-lasting intestinal damage that took months to heal. Beyond the obvious bacterial risks, raw eggs also leave avidin fully active, which worsens biotin deficiency, as mentioned earlier. What's more, raw eggs can destabilize your gut microbiome, weakening your immune system, interfering with digestion, and even worsening cognitive conditions like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. That's why my recommendation is clear. Avoid consuming raw or undercooked eggs at all costs. Always opt for eggs that are fully cooked for at least 9 minutes, which ensures they're safe to eat. Be extra cautious when buying eggs. Avoid any with cracks or stains and always store them in the refrigerator. Now that we've covered the first two common mistakes when it comes to eating eggs, you might be wondering if some of these habits have made their way into your own routine. Maybe, like Eleanor or Mark, you've unknowingly made these small but harmful choices. That's why it's important to move on to the third mistake, another little-known but serious issue among older adults: mixing eggs with medications. I know it may sound odd to think that something as natural as an egg could interfere with your medicine, but this is a well-documented reality, backed by both scientific studies and clinical experience. To illustrate this more clearly, let me share the story of Harold. It's an active 85-year-old gentleman I met at a health center in Boston. He was taking anticoagulants regularly due to a previous heart condition. One day, without warning, Harold suffered a severe brain hemorrhage that sent him straight to the emergency room. After thorough tests and evaluations, the medical team discovered the cause. Harold had significantly increased his daily egg intake without adjusting the timing or dosage of his medication. What Harold didn't know, and what you may not know either, is that egg yolks contain vitamin K, an essential nutrient that can directly interfere with anticoagulant medications like warfarin. This interaction is subtle and silent, but extremely dangerous if overlooked. It can either reduce or amplify the effect of the medication, significantly increasing the risk of bleeding or blood clots. And it doesn't stop there. Many older adults take iron supplements or specific antibiotics like tetracycline without realizing that egg whites, in particular, can drastically reduce the effectiveness of these medications. For example, Dorothy Jones, a 76-year-old woman, struggled with persistent anemia. She couldn't understand why her iron levels stayed low despite taking her supplements regularly. That all changed when she stopped eating eggs at breakfast. What Dorothy didn't know is that egg whites can bind with iron supplements and prevent their proper absorption, rendering the treatment ineffective. That's why the simplest and most effective medical advice is this: always leave a gap of at least 2 hours between eating eggs and taking your medications. In some cases, especially for those on anticoagulants or sensitive supplements like iron. That gap may need to be up to 4 hours. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist to adjust your schedule and make sure your health isn't compromised by something as simple but crucial as timing. Now, let's move on to the fourth mistake, which might be the most unexpected of all. Eating eggs very early in the morning, typically between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. You might find this surprising, especially since we've all heard that a good breakfast should include eggs first thing in the morning. But as we age, our bodies undergo important physiological changes. One of those changes involves the hormone cortisol, commonly known as the wake-up hormone. Cortisol naturally peaks during the early morning hours, especially right after waking up. So what's the issue with that? Elevated cortisol levels in the morning signal your liver to produce more cholesterol. Now, imagine adding a meal high in fat and protein at this exact time, especially if those eggs are fried. You're amplifying this natural cholesterol production, which becomes increasingly harder to control as you get older. The story of Ronald Jones, a 78-year-old man, perfectly illustrates this point. For decades, Ronald had a routine of eating fried eggs precisely at 6 in the morning every single day. He never suspected this habit was harmful till he suffered a sudden heart attack. It was only after a thorough medical evaluation that doctors discovered his cholesterol levels were dangerously high, almost twice the safe limit for his age. In addition, eating high-fat, high-protein foods too early can lead to digestive discomfort, indigestion, heartburn, and a heavy feeling in your stomach, something you've likely experienced at some point. So what's the better option? The ideal time to eat eggs, facially for those over 60, is between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. By then, your body is fully awake, your metabolism is functioning at its best, and your digestive system is better equipped to absorb the essential nutrients in eggs. What about you? Do you usually eat eggs early in the morning? Have you ever considered how timing might affect your digestive and cardiovascular health? Now let's move on to the fifth mistake many older adults make when eating eggs daily. This one is subtle, yet surprisingly common. Frying eggs in excessively hot oil. You might be asking, can frying a simple egg really be that harmful? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. To better explain why, let me share the story of Jane Smith, a kind 84-year-old woman who suffered from chronic gastritis for years without ever really knowing the cause. Her weight dropped significantly, and she began feeling discomfort every time she ate. After numerous doctor visits and inconclusive tests, a gastroenterologist finally suggested she try changing something seemingly minor, the way she prepared her eggs. Jane used to fry her eggs in extremely hot oil every morning. What she didn't know is that egg proteins are highly sensitive to intense heat. When exposed to temperatures over 212 degrees Fahrenheit, these proteins change in ways that make digestion much harder. On top of that, overheated oil, especially when it reaches its smoke point, releases highly toxic, inflammatory compounds that irritate the stomach and intestinal lining. This reaction, repeated day after day, can significantly contribute to inflammatory conditions like gastritis or acid reflux. By simply switching from fried eggs to boiled eggs, as recommended by her doctor, Jane noticed a remarkable improvement. Within a few weeks, her gastritis symptoms began to fade. Her appetite returned, and she regained the weight she had lost. She also reported more energy overall, as her eggs were now prepared in a way that supported her body instead of harming it. Another important point many people don't realize is that when you fry eggs at very high temperatures, you destroy a critical nutrient for brain function, choline. This substance, found especially in the yolk, is essential for keeping your memory sharp and healthy and for protecting against cognitive decline as you age. Overcooking or burning eggs means losing much of this valuable benefit, which is particularly important after 60. So, what's the healthiest and most recommended way to prepare eggs? The solution is simpler than you might think. Try boiling your eggs slowly, starting with cold water and letting them simmer gently for about 10 minutes. This cooking method preserves nutrients and makes them easier to digest. You can also try gentle methods like poaching, which don't require any oil and ensure you get all the benefits without hurting your digestive system. And why not add natural herbs and spices to your eggs? Aromatic herbs like turmeric, parsley, or even a light pinch of black pepper are not only great for flavor, but also for your health. Turmeric, for example, has well-known anti-inflammatory properties, and when combined with eggs, creates a healthy, delicious, and nutrient-rich meal. Now, you might be thinking, that's a lot of information. Can I really change all these habits at once? I completely understand that concern. That's exactly why my suggestion is not to try changing everything overnight. Start by picking just one of these habits that you recognize in your routine and make one change at a time. If you're used to frying eggs for breakfast, try switching to boiled or poached eggs just a few days a week to begin with. Once you're comfortable with that, consider adjusting the time of day you eat eggs. Maybe move them to lunchtime or the mid-afternoon. Remember, every small change you make now, especially after 60, can have a huge impact on your future well-being. Your body will respond positively to these adjustments, giving you more energy, better digestion, and stronger protection for your heart and brain. To help you remember all this valuable information and put it into practice, let's summarize the 5 mistakes we've covered, along with simple ways to correct them. Mistake number 1: eating only egg whites, especially on an empty stomach. Why to avoid it? Egg whites contain iodine, substance that blocks biotin absorption of vitamin, essential for muscles, memory, and the nervous system. How to fix it? Always eat the yolk along with the white, paired with light foods like whole grain bread or a fresh salad. Mistake number 2: eating raw or undercooked eggs. Why to avoid it? As we age, our immune system weakens, making us more vulnerable to serious infections like salmonella. How to fix it? Cook eggs thoroughly for at least 9 to 12 minutes to ensure safety and nutrient preservation. Mistake number 3: eating eggs alongside medications or supplements. Why to avoid it? Egg yolks contain vitamin K, which interferes with blood thinners. Egg whites can block iron and some antibiotics from being absorbed effectively. How to fix it? Leave a 2 to 4 hour gap between eating eggs and taking medications. Always consult your doctor for personalized guidance. Mistake number 4: eating eggs too early in the morning. Why to avoid it at this time? Cortisol, a natural wake-up hormone, already increases cholesterol production. Adding a fatty meal like fried eggs amplifies this effect, raising cardiovascular risks. How to fix it? Eat eggs between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. when your metabolism is fully active, making digestion and nutrient absorption more efficient. Mistake number 5: frying eggs in very hot oil. Why to avoid it? High heat damages egg proteins and nutrients and releases inflammatory compounds that harm your digestive tract. How to fix it? Cook eggs slowly, starting in cold water and simmering gently. Or try poached eggs. Enhance them with herbs like turmeric or parsley for extra health benefits and flavor. By recognizing these small but powerful habits, you've already taken a big step toward improving your physical and mental health, ensuring a more energetic, vibrant aging process. But remember, you don't have to change everything at once. The key is daily consistency and gradually building healthy habits. I recently spoke again with that veteran 92-year-old doctor I mentioned earlier. Still seeing patients in upstate New York, he reminded me of something I'll never forget. The secret to longevity isn't in big, occasional changes, but in small ones you can sustain for life. So why not start tomorrow? Boil 2 eggs for lunch, pair them with colorful vegetables, and see how you feel throughout the day. You might notice a new spark of energy, a different kind of vitality, or smoother digestion. Little actions like this can make an incredible difference in your daily life. Now, I'd really love to hear from you. Were any of these mistakes part of your routine without you even realizing it? Share your experience in the comments. Every comment helps strengthen our community and might inspire others to adopt healthier habits too. If you enjoyed this content and want more tips on health and quality of life after 60, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. Your health is your greatest treasure, and it's never too late to take care of it.